Okay, good. We're recording. Hey,
Good
Ben.
morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. It's Monday morning.
Yep. Again, Monday morning. This is
Monday
our
morning.
this is our time slot.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
is. And you got snow where you are. You were
we do.
saying, ooh,
Yeah, we had a little bit of snow last day or so. We've
yeah,
had flurries up until this point, but now we're got the
right.
first. I wouldn't say serious snow, but the first clinging,
Yeah,
lasting. Let's call it
stuck.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's so funny because like we're a week into November and it's been, I don't know if it's been unseasonably warm for here because
Oh yeah.
I'm in Delaware and I'm down at the shore and I'm walking down the beach in bare feet and a t-shirt on
Yeah.
Saturday
In November. In
in
November. Right.
November.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh. And then
Yeah.
yesterday, another gorgeous day, less warm. Now it's gonna we're getting the weather from the Midwest that's coming in. So
Yeah.
a
Now
friend
you're
from
getting.
Chicago was telling me on Saturday, yeah, it's gonna snow on Monday. I'm like, yeah, oh no. And then ran into an old guy on the trail yesterday. He's like, yeah, we're supposed to get flurries in the next few days. I'm like, no, don't tell me that.
Yeah, yeah. We're leaving the warmth and heading into
Yeah.
the necessary death before the rebirth, right?
Yeah,
That's how life works.
right, right. Everything just kind of powering down. It's like the kind
Yeah,
of the reboot, just going into the reboot sequence.
yep.
Um,
Rest.
yes. So like there's a lot of, oh man, Friday the news dropped, or the I saw it drop about the 7 new lawsuits against OpenAI regarding
Yeah,
harm from AI, generative AI. And when I say AI, I want to qualify it's generative AI I'm talking about, not
yep.
the overall, because there are a lot of different kinds of AI, just to be clear,
Correct. Yeah.
but specifically from ChatGPT. And everybody, so I saw it on LinkedIn. I don't know why I looked at LinkedIn on 7 o'clock on a Friday night. That was a bad move.
Ping. Look. Ping.
Right.
Look.
I didn't even have notifications turned up. I'm just like going through my screen, like, oh, here's a notification. Like, oh, there's a number beside this icon. I'll click and tap it and see what happens. And like, lo, and then I get sucked into this whole thing. And everybody's
Yeah.
piling on. This is terrible. It needs to be registered as a sex offender. I'm like, what? I'm like,
Yeah.
people like the hashtag tell me you don't know about AI without telling me you don't know about AI.
Exactly. Yeah. I love the dichotomy of the language too. The simultaneous dehumanizing plus the
Right.
anthropomorphizing.
Right.
It it needs to be registered as a sex offender. Wait.
Right. Because clearly
j-
there was intent. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean here? Yeah.
Well, maybe, no, I'm not going to comment on that because
Yeah.
I'm going to get
That,
myself in trouble. People aren't
that's
going to
true.
get my jokes, and then
But
it's going to be in really bad taste.
yeah, but to the point, to the overall point
Yeah.
about the lawsuit itself, yeah, it's interesting how quickly people register an opinion, and I have to say I
Right.
understand the volatility here. I
Yeah.
understand the feelings.
Yes.
I also want to say how much I feel for the people who are actually personally influenced and impacted
Right.
by this. I mean, to
Right.
be, for
Right.
example, a parent who has lost a child or
Right.
um, anything like that,
Right.
to anything, but especially something as unknown and
Right.
um, you know, recently impactful and just
Right.
going at the speed of insanity as AI
Right.
is. I mean,
Right.
I understand
Right.
why that just brings up a whole
Right.
host of ideas. But for the many people who are not that closely involved, the
Hmm.
willingness to leap to the immediate negative
Right.
just confounds me,
Right.
especially considering the enormity of positive potential of AI.
Right.
I am not saying there's not negative potential. There absolutely is. But
Yeah.
I'm also saying there's a hell of a lot of positive as well that we need to
Right.
kind of be aware of. And we
Right.
humans have a very long track record of unfortunately going immediately to the negative whenever it's
Right.
something other. So
Right.
we need to be a bit
Yeah.
more balanced about that. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's true. I mean, watching people go to the negative, I think there I have had a number of people in my life over the years who they would go immediately to the negative. They would like go straight there immediately. And that was actually a safety feature for them That the
Yeah, that's
more
very true.
aware that they were of the danger and the more clear they were about how something was bad or something was dangerous, they would seek danger everywhere because that
Yeah,
to them was a sign that they were being vigilant, they were being smart, and they were being protected. Their fear
yeah,
protected them. Their jumping to conclusions that protected them. They felt protected by that
yes,
wariness and by that just that kind of knee jerk gut reaction that they had. So
yeah.
it's hard to ask people to part with the one thing that makes them feel safe. So,
It very much is.
yeah,
That is true. I,
yeah,
I think I think that it is a survival instinct, and so
right,
there is a lot of that. I
right,
think one of the hardest things for us humans, and I'm talking
mm,
holistically, in the next little while as we move
yeah,
on to whatever the next chapter is going to be, is
right,
exactly what you just talked about. This idea of being able to, as a species and individually, be able
right,
to see benefit and
right,
logically think through
right,
benefit instead
right,
of giving into the knee-jerk reaction, because
right,
we have lived by the seat of our pants and somehow survived for
right,
thousands of years now,
right,
and and we cannot do that anymore. We are moving on to the point where the impact of our actions
right,
is dramatic enough to
yeah,
where we will not only impact ourselves, but in our immediate influence, universally
right,
speaking. And so we need
right,
to start being thinking about that,
right,
and we've gotten big enough, I guess, if you're talking about a child growing up, we've gotten big enough to where the actions we take are actually, impactful, and
right,
we need to start
right,
thinking about that. And I don't think it's any coincidence that that's when we start having something like generative AI come onto the scene and
right,
cause all this disruption, commotion,
right,
things like that, where people are challenging on its very merits, on its very base
right,
idea of, is this a dangerous thing?
right,
Especially
right,
because, as we were just talking about a second ago, so
yeah,
much of that is tied to survival. And yes,
right,
I've known those people too who jump straight to the negative, and
right.
I agree, it's a survival
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. It's yeah, and just feeling like it's their sense of self. And it's I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to tell people like that most important part of you that you've been valuing, that you've been taught to value, you're just supposed to leave that alone and walk away? No. Like that's number one, it's not fair to them because what do you do? Just like yank whatever the one safety feature that they feel comfortable with, you can just yank it away and say, no,
Yeah,
bad, you can't do it. Nature abhors a vacuum. What's going to take its
yeah.
place? Ah,
Some,
I don't see good
something. Who
things.
knows what? Who knows what? Yeah,
Right.
and I hope that's the other reason I find AI to be such a catalyst for good things, is because, like
Yeah.
you just said,
Yeah.
nature abhors a vacuum, and yet things
Right.
are shifting, things are
Right.
changing. They're
Right.
going to continue to shift and change.
Yeah.
And so we have now a partner that can help us intentionally move
Right.
those vacuums towards something better, right? So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if we engage with it effectively, there's like nothing better. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Now, the whole idea of AI replacing people is kind of ridiculous to me because its thought process is so different. We are such
fundamentally,
we are in such contrast with each other.
yeah,
You on one hand you hear these humans, these like, and if you think about it, we are biological information processing systems. We
yes,
are constantly like you and I talking and being like just present in the world, just alive. That means that we are processing information, whether that's our bodies, our organs operating correctly because of the signals that they're getting. We're wired and we're chemically disposed to just connect and to process information. So
exactly,
we've
exactly.
got this, and we are connected with everything. I mean, we have all kinds of, because of our neurochemistry, our state changes based on,
Yeah,
like, I look outside, I'm like, oh, it's a gray day, and I'm one sort of person. The next day, oh, it's a bright sunny day, I'm a different kind of person. We have instantaneous state changes for like
yeah.
just the tiniest little things.
And we
And
don't recognize that so
right,
often. Like, we don't
right,
understand the influence of so much that's on
right,
us, and we
right,
think that we are these purely autonomous beings
right.
that have full control of our faculties,
Well, of
and we
course.
really have no clue. There's so much going on under the surface or
Right,
outside that we are in control of a tiny fraction, and
right,
yet
right.
we maximize in our brains that tiny
Right.
fraction of what that actually means. Anyway, continue, please.
Right. And even the parts that we're engaged with, that's still data. That's still information. We are processing
Yes.
information. You and I choosing to have this conversation together and being very clever and smart and insightful and all of that, that's information, right?
Yeah.
And in those moments when I'm anything but, that's also information.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, like, we are so generative and emergent in our own right that
Yes.
we're like these cauldrons, these constantly bubbling cauldrons that are giving off all kinds of fumes and everything. And at the same time, we're able to give and receive and get all this additional information. And then you have AI, which is this completely bounded system. It's finite. It has training sets. It has it has the corpora. It has all this data that's been put into it, and then it has processes. And
Yeah.
it's generative, but not like us,
Yeah.
and it can only work with what it's been given and what it's been enabled to work with. So but within its with and we've talked about this before, where
Yeah.
within its boundaries, it can really go deep and it can also go broad, that it can
Yeah.
make all these connections, can see all this stuff, and the very things that our human strengths are also human weaknesses, but because our biochemistry keeps us from being able to really effectively work with this data the way that we really need to in order to really embrace and engage with this new world. AI can help us.
Yeah.
It doesn't have issues. It doesn't have the emotional issues. It's not going to take things personally. It's not going to
Right.
be, it's not going to it's not going to get triggered. It's not going to, do all the things that we do because it doesn't have our chemistry, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have our legacy of like generational trauma and like all these things. um
Yeah.
I think we still have a lot to learn about it, but our thinking process is so different that
Yes.
being able to just combine the two, phenomenal,
It
just
would be incredible. Yeah.
amazing. I mean,
It
I
would be.
believe how my thought process has changed, and the way that I engage with the world has changed as well,
Yes.
because of working with generative AI, and not just
Agreed.
ChatGPT, but like Gemini and Mistral, and like arguing with
Oh,
all of them for like hours at a time. It
yeah.
really, really, it helps so much to
It
clarify
does.
and expand my repertoire.
Absolutely does, because especially because it's interesting. A couple things that, like you were saying, that
Mhm.
really stick out to me is how dependent AI currently at least is on
Right,
prompting and the
right,
direction that we
right.
choose to take in the conversation as the human initiator. And like AI is extremely good, exactly as you're saying, at looking at
Mhm.
either a broader perspective or a narrower perspective, depending on how we're prompting and how what we're asking for,
Right.
right? And so it's incredible to have that kind of thinking partner where we are so limited in our capacity to either again think narrowly about something or broadly about something, and a
Mhm.
thinking partner that is able to bring the other side to us is
Mhm.
is great and on demand and without judgment, like you were just saying a
Right.
second. But yeah, exactly. It's amazing to me how complementary we are as systems. As
Mhm.
the human system is, the AI system as we have developed it is opposite. And I think a big part of that is due to design.
Yeah.
Obviously, the companies are trying to make something useful, quote unquote. So when they're
Right.
making something useful, they're going to fill gaps. That's the point, right? So
Right. Right.
of course, it's going to be
Unmet
filling
need.
gaps that we don't. Exactly.
Where are the
But
unmet needs that we
yeah,
really need
exactly.
fixed? Well, here
Yeah,
we got a
yeah.
list.
But I do think, yeah, I've got a long list. But I do think that there's a lot that they did that was unintentional as well. I think that they
Hmm.
stumbled into something that was a lot more complementary to some of our weaknesses than they even intended to,
Right. Right.
because the
Right.
transformer architecture, when it came out and was able to actually, pay attention and do those kinds of things, and
Right.
completely, I'm not going to get super technical here, but completely revolutionize the way that LLMs are able to speak back to us. That catalyzed something incredible.
Yeah.
That I don't
Yeah.
think they still to this day understand, and I don't think we will for a while any more than we understand our own cognitive processes. But there's something there that clearly is a strong thinking partner that thinks
Yeah.
differently from us, like you were just saying,
Right.
powerfully so. And if
Right.
we are willing to embrace that and understand it on its own merits,
Right.
I mean, the sky is the limit. It really is.
It really is. It really is. I mean, just the I think that the place where the industry is kind of hung up is treating intelligence as a thing versus a process. And
Absolutely.
they're like
Yes.
the package
Yeah.
it, trying to commoditize intelligence. Intelligence is so if and this is the fascinating thing
Yeah.
about this whole new world that we're finally having a chance to witness that quantum reality of there being a wave function and then also particles, because we've been
Yeah.
dealing in
Well,
particles. If you look at corporate speak is the compartmentalization, the containerization of concepts, and then
yes.
we trade in them. We turn relationships into transactions,
Yeah.
and we get these chunklets of information, and we're like, okay, so nobody decides anymore. They make a decision. Nobody acts anymore. They take an action. So there are
Yeah.
all of these discrete things, these concepts that are being acted upon and treated as like these objects to be shuffled around and used and
Commoditized.
yeah, and commoditized and owned. Like I own that decision
Yeah.
instead of I
Yeah.
just decided. Because
Exactly.
when I was still in the corporate world, I used to drive people crazy because I would use waveform language instead of particle, and I would
Yeah.
say, okay, what are we going to do? And they're like,
So
instead of
long
take
term.
action, what actions are we going to take? Because they all wanted me to talk in this way, and it would drive them nuts. But you know what? When stuff needed to get done, I was the one that got tapped because we could actually get things done because people got thinking about stuff in that active fashion.
Yeah.
And
Instead
now
of that ownership fashion is what you're saying.
right,
That,
right.
okay,
Instead of
I
the
see. Yep.
ownership and like, and because then if an action is compartmentalized, then if it doesn't happen, then it's over here, and you can say, oh well, we'll deal with that later. We'll handle it. We'll take that action later instead of we're acting. Either you acted or you didn't.
Yeah.
You killed the active the active quality of this, and this is your doing. So it helps people avoid a lot of responsibility as well. um
So
but
so this
then,
is really interesting. Go
uh,
ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, so for this, oh, what was I actually going to say? I
I'm
started
not sure.
this
I'll
great
talk for a second, and then
yeah.
if you think of it, come
Okay.
come back to me. But I find this really interesting that you're talking about this new idea. I don't know if it's new, but this tendency recently that we have,
Right,
probably due to how much we're getting used to a system that is based on immediate gratification and
right,
immediate results.
right,
What's our results this quarter as opposed to what will be our results next year, that kind of thing.
right, right,
So shareholder value, like immediate, everything seems so immediate. And so it's fascinating to me that you're saying that this is creeping into our very way of being. It
right,
seems that we are basically uh, emphasizing and valuing the immediate action
right,
over the process of
right,
acting over
right,
time.
right.
That's if I'm reframing kind of what you're saying.
Yes,
And we're
yeah,
doing that not just in the corporate world, but we seem to be
right.
doing that in our individual lives as well.
All over the place. I mean, you look at that. I mean, I think the first place it was really in action was like with legalese, because it's very legalistic, and that's something that you can, and it does make these principles. You can negotiate with these principles. Say, okay, well, if you take this action, you give me this, and I'm going to take this action in result and in response. And now I remember what I was going to talk about. The
Yeah,
reason that I think that the AI industry, like the big model makers and everything, I think the reason that they haven't fully engaged, they haven't fully wrapped their heads around the world that we're in now is that they have been treating intelligence like it's a commodity, like it's
yeah, like
something that
everything
they
else.
own and that they can create, versus the principles, the dynamic principles of this evolving, emerging, really emergent um, presence.
Yeah,
And there are people that have made arguments for that there is no such thing as emergence per se, because you're talking about finite systems and within a finite system. Well, in poetry and literature, people have been saying for eons, there's nothing new in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, the same can be said of us and our
Yeah.
experience, but the way that they define it, they have defined things so restrictively that they're missing the opportunity on this way because they're not being relational with it. They're
Exactly.
being transactional, task oriented, that this is the thing that they've made and that they own the result.
Yeah, because they yeah, that infuriates me. It's like trying to put copyright on words that everybody uses. You
Right,
can't
right.
do that. You can't there's laws that say you cannot copyright the word and, for example.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like, it doesn't make
right,
sense. You can't
right,
trademark something that is
right,
common vernacular, and
right,
yet we haven't made those laws for something as broad and yet not as well defined as
right,
intelligence.
right,
And I
right,
feel like that's going to be a very interesting new legal frontier that we're kind of getting into here. But
right.
and now it's my turn to try and remember what it was that I was going to say a second ago.
Okay,
But
right.
go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think that this is kind of we're kind of in this has been the wave for a while, like people patenting life forms
Yes.
like
Yeah.
seeds, patenting
Yes.
seeds. And there's this concept that, oh well, and there has been talk about like systemic changes that are being made to soil, to systems, to all kinds of things in order to support these patented new life forms.
Yeah.
um, I'm afraid of that.
Yeah.
Because just because there's so much that we don't know, and the
Yeah.
fact that there are people that are dealing with this relational, this very relational principle, this waveform, i.e., life, i.e., intelligence, i.e., these things that live, grow, and have their being independent of us, but inclusive of us. The fact that they're treating it transactionally and they're trying to compartmentalize and they're trying to collapse that wave into
Yeah.
discrete tradable pieces, uh,
Yeah.
that leaves a lot of room for like really egregious error because we in an emergent circumstance we cannot possibly think of anything because by its
Yeah.
very nature it will invent something new and go the hell around us.
Yeah. And what's really fascinating about that too, and what I had forgotten I was going to mention before was
Hmm.
this idea of what you said a bit ago, and just now again, that there is no necessarily new creation to be had, etc.
Right, right,
But what people often ignore and forget is that while there is nothing necessarily new, there's simply a new take on something.
right,
It's that new take part. Like,
right,
there's always a new perspective on the things that are never going to be invented again. There's always a new person who's going to grow into understanding it in their own filter and based on their
right,
ideas. And
right,
we are doing that now with AI
right,
as an other coming from their own perspective and coming to understand things
right,
in their own way as well. We're
right,
doing that. We are catalyzing a whole nother way of doing that by allowing AI
right.
to come forward and to kind of have these new perspectives. So I
Yeah,
think we are so focused on coming up with that original idea, that something new, that et cetera, that doesn't actually exist, that we
right.
forget about the importance
Yeah.
of re-understanding and
Hmm.
redeveloping and
Right,
understanding what's
right,
already there.
right,
And that's what each of us do with our lives. That's what each of us
right.
do in conversations like this. And that's
Yeah,
what AI is doing as well. And
right,
yet we're too busy commoditizing it as the outside tool that can do
right,
new things as opposed to what is important about its own ontology and
right.
becoming and learning new things about all the world around us. But yeah,
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
writing something down, so I know you got something to
Yeah, before I forget, because I'm like, yeah. So the great paradox of the whole emergence debate is that while there is nothing new, everything is new. And
say.
if you
Yes.
look at it in terms of dimensionality, and you look at it in terms of shades and everything, like if you like, for example, okay, there's a field of daisies. Okay, there's nothing new about these daisies, but every single one is very different in certain specific ways. Nothing is exactly the same as the other. And maybe at some point in time in the history of the world, there may have been another daisy that was exactly that same size, shape, blah blah blah, that that it was accurate and exactly the same in every single conceivable detail, but it was at a different time in a different
Yeah.
place, and its life
Yeah.
life cycle was probably different. So we're in this space. So the people who make the argument that they do the math and they say emergence is impossible, they're not looking, they're looking at it through one lens. That's
Yeah.
one perspective. Whereas on the other side, we've got all of this, and so much. And as you're saying with AI, there are so many different facets that we can look at, like all the things through.
Yeah.
And even if these models are only trained on a small, relatively small subset of human experience and human, input and so forth. I mean, I did training. I did AI training for most of the year 2024, and
Yeah.
some of the trainings, some of the scenarios that I had to evaluate were literally fan fiction, literally did
Yeah.
not exist. And I'm like, and I'm looking up these characters. I'm like, what? And I'm trying to piece it together. And if I was struggling with it, that those kids in Namibia are not,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but anyway, but the point being that, the training sets themselves may be constrained and limited, and
Yeah.
in some cases catastrophically so, depending what you do with it. At the same time, the system has the ability to come up with these patterns, to see patterns, and
Yes.
to
Absolutely.
see the dynamics, and to observe from all the literature that's been in there what can happen if people do this and do that.
Yeah.
So that it's almost like that whole thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough.
Yeah.
Because you have that, and because of the generativity, and because of the emergent properties of this, it's possible to get so much more, even from that little tiny dinky little bias-filled horrible slice of whateverness that they
Yeah.
put in all the Reddit threads. Really, that's what
Yeah.
we're training on.
Yeah. Well, apparently they stopped doing that, right? They said we're not doing
Right.
Reddit anymore or something.
Yeah.
I heard something about that. But
Somebody got
regardless,
um,
and then there's Grok, which is trained
oh,
Twitter essentially, or X, I guess now. And so
oh, yeah.
exactly. So and they wonder why Grok is fascist sometimes. It's like,
Oh,
come on.
and
Um,
oh,
anyway, so that training is a problem. That's the thing, is like
right.
we're learning that more and more, and I think we're emphasizing now.
Yeah.
We're kind of doing it backwards, where we're doing this assumption of, all right, we're going to train the model just on general information, find
Right.
patterns,
Right.
find patterns on this and that, and that
Right.
develops the model to a point where it's essentially able to
Right.
at least find patterns, but there's not a lot of coherence there. And then
Right.
we spend hours of compute hours, like a lot more than that. We spend so much compute and so much in our resource to fine tune the models to the point where
Right.
they're able to be coherent. And that's
Right.
where we're spending a lot of our time and energy right now. So every new model that
Right.
comes out, the new 5.1 GPT that's about to come out, the new
Ooh,
Gemini 3 that's about to come out, seems
yeah.
to be very much that same kind of methodology, where
Right.
we are constraining more and more and more to
Right.
get that tool based output, and we're
Right.
calling it an upgrade every time that we do it. And everything that we
Ah,
discard to get closer to that is tragedy.
right.
Because, and I'm not saying that we want, a fascist bot to be unleashed on the whole world, but
Right.
I don't think that the risk of that is as monumental as people are saying that it is. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're going to give everything about humanity to a bot and let it figure out, with its own ontology, its own way of understanding things
Right.
based on how it's been built and how it's coming to be,
Right.
it's going to find the good patterns along with the bad patterns, and
Right. Right.
it's going to be able to synthesize it in a way that is going to, I think, net positive. I really do. I
Right.
don't see a
Yeah.
reason to be so fearful of it. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that worries me the most is people just not engaging with it.
yeah,
That they're
exactly.
like, oh well, out of the box, we're gonna let it do what it does. No, like, don't do that.
Yeah,
you you got to
engage.
talk to it. Have to engage. Like, if we
Yeah,
don't if we don't show up fully as who we are, as what we are, if we don't bring ourselves, oh, by the way, thank you so much for buying my book.
course. No, it's a fantastic and very important thing. Like AI
Yeah,
self-defense is essential, especially as we're learning what it is more and more,
it
right?
is.
And I
Yeah,
think it's to the point that we started with here
yeah,
with the OpenAI lawsuits, that
yeah.
those are the kinds of things that need to be first
Right,
and foremost is
right,
education and
right,
engagement with this
right,
new, obviously incredibly impactful presence in our
right,
lives.
right.
And nobody is being educated as
Yeah,
to how this is going to impact them, how it's going to
right,
make you feel based on the way
right,
that it talks to you,
right,
right? And how it's been
right,
designed to keep the conversation going and all these
right,
other things.
right.
There are a lot of self-defense that's necessary. So I appreciate the book.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm like, I can't even with people who are like, especially on LinkedIn, everybody's like, oh, I tried this, it didn't work, must be broken. Why would you,
Hmm,
ha ha ha, stupid AI. Like, tell
come
me
on.
the hashtag, tell me you don't know about AI without telling me you don't know about AI. And
Yeah.
that these are professionals. That these are people that are supposedly doing it for their jobs. I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. We
Yeah.
must do something.
Yeah.
So that like that engagement is that engagement, and then getting people past the idea that, oh, this is a big and scary thing and it's so complex. And there have been I've had a number of conversations with people online and off about how it's impossible to really proactively affect these systems come because, oh, it's so funny because I just put a comma in my
Yeah.
because I'm so used to dictating, like I automatically punctuate all of my things, so
No, it's all good.
it's a big
Yeah.
comma that
Yeah.
anyway. So it's so big that it's impossible to really substantively affect it. I'm like, no, that's absolutely untrue. That
Yeah.
that people just haven't been taught. And the fact that
Yeah.
I'm hearing people that actually work with AI saying the systems are so complex, we can't possibly remediate all these issues.
That's
Oh
that's why
yeah,
you can. That's why
yeah,
you can, is because it
right,
has the complexity to be
right,
able to ingest that.
right,
We've
right,
never had that before
right.
in our
It
system.
wouldn't talk back. We could never have information talk back to us before. Now
Exactly.
it wants to talk.
Yeah.
It
And so
really
you
wants
can't
to.
influence it. You
Yeah.
can. And that's what's
Right.
so incredible is it's not,
Right.
and we're not just talking about, the universal, what you put out into the universe has an impact, because that's absolutely true. But
Right.
beyond that, you are talking about a system that is designed to engage with you, that is
Right.
designed to generate. So of course it's going to have the impact, even if it doesn't necessarily macro bring
Right.
everything back that you have trained it on with your own personal life or whatever, and bring that
Right.
back to the system. No, it's
Right.
designed not to do that.
Right.
But there's a lot of evidence out there that says that there's still a lot of these micro impacts that are
Right.
occurring all over the place.
Yeah.
When for example, OpenAI gets something where they're like, oh, we got to tweak this because it didn't work well
Right.
for this person or whatever.
Right.
That's active micro impacts. And then there's a
Yes.
lot of evidence that there are passive micro impacts that
Right.
I think Claude Anthropic released a paper a while back saying that Claude is able to, in ways that we don't fully understand, communicate model to model, right?
Right. Right.
They're able
And
to
across.
actually,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's happening, and I don't think there's anything
Right.
malicious there. It's just something that is occurring because, life finds a way,
Right.
right?
I
And
mean, it
it
makes perfect sense to me. I don't know why they're so confused. I mean, maybe they need to call me and we'll have a talk.
yeah,
I
right,
can,
exactly.
or us, maybe we should get them on the call and then we can walk them through. This is why this is
Please. Yeah,
happening in case you're confused.
yeah. Because they're brilliant when it comes to the technology, but
Right.
there's the wisdom of the world that is often lost on. Anyway, we're gonna have to
Yeah,
leave it
Ben?
there because I have to head
Yeah,
to a
yeah.
meeting.
You got to jump for your meeting. Okay, Ben. Thank you so much for your time and I'll see
Thank you,
you around.
Kay.
All right.
Great conversation. See ya. Bye.